Thank you so much, Trish, for that kind introduction, and to Trish and Riyadh for the invitation to speak with you here this morning. I'm really honored. This is an incredible community, and as I was listening to all the remarks, which are hard to follow, I have to say, it made me want to be part of Leadership Metrowests, which I have not participated in. So as I I think that might be in my future as I look ahead to retirement. So again, my name's Diane Gould. I'm the president and CEO at Advocates. As Trish said, we are a private nonprofit human service agency. We're based here in Metrowest with programs throughout central and eastern Massachusetts and now down into Rhode Island. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the organization and then speak some about my leadership journey and some lessons learned along the way that I hope will be of interest and of value to you. So Advocates was founded in 1975, 50 years ago. We were founded as a coffee shop on the grounds of Westboro State Hospital by family members and friends of state hospital patients who envisioned a better life for their family members. Within a couple of years, that group of community members began providing support to people to leave the state hospital for a life in the community with housing and supports that would help them be successful. So these were very humble beginnings, and over time, Advocates grew and changed. We expanded our footprint. We were serving people with serious mental health conditions in those days. We expanded the communities of people we were serving to include people with disabilities, substance use problems, brain injuries, autism, other challenges in living. And today, we're one of the largest human service agencies in Massachusetts, serving, as Trish said, upwards of 40 or 45,000 people a year across the lifespan, very small children to much older adults. We employ about 2,700 staff, and our revenues are a little over $240 million. When I came to the organization, I think we were probably $1 million in revenues, very, very small. Our services range from residential supports for people with disabilities to outpatient counseling, jail diversion programs in partnership with the Framingham Police and other communities, to family supports, employment services, and emergency services, and everything in between. Our mission has really stayed the same since the very beginning. We've changed the language in terms of how we articulate it, but the core mission is the same, which is to help people have a good life in the community. For most people, what that involves is a place to call home, something meaningful to do with one's time, relationships that are satisfying and sustaining, and the opportunity to enjoy good health and access to good health care. Many of the people we support live on the margins. They are disenfranchised. They experience barriers to achieving some of these ingredients for a good life. So our work is to help remove those barriers and give people resources and services and supports to help them achieve their hopes and dreams. That's the service part of our mission. We also have a social justice component, which is to work with communities to help them be welcoming and inclusive and equitable places where all of us can thrive. So we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year, and I'm proud and grateful to have had 41 of my years with the Advocates community. I began working in Framingham back in 1980. I was a social work intern at what was then, Sean, you might remember, Framingham Day Hospital. It's now Programs for People. And then I was an emergency services clinician at a local community health center, which is now run by SMOC. In 1985, I was ready to take the next step in my professional life, and Bill Taylor called me. Some of you, I think, may remember him. He was the executive director of Advocates at the time and essentially the founder of Advocates as we know it today. So he called me and said, I'm trying to build something here. I'd like you to be a part of it. Advocates was very small at the time, a few group homes and some supported apartments, but I knew of Bill by reputation as a visionary leader, and I knew the Advocates community, having done crisis work for several years, and I knew that community as a place of deep connection and commitment to mission, and a place where people worked with a lot of joy. I wanted to note that the first thing that we hear from our next leader, from the person in charge of where we go, is really important, because what he said to me is, I really hope you'll come and work for me. And that personal appeal made a difference. We were chatting before the breakfast began, and Trish was saying that in one of her jobs, one of the first things that you experienced was that the person wanted her to bring her baby to work, and how much of a difference that made in terms of your interest in that job. So I share that just so you'll know that when you're hiring, those first impressions, as you may know yourselves from your own experience, really can make a difference. So it was hard to say no to a visionary leader and a community that was so vibrant. So I came to Advocates thinking I would be there for 5 years. I just had that in mind, and here it is 41 years later and still here. And the reason for that is that whenever I thought there was something new that I wanted to learn or something that I wanted to try, there were opportunities at Advocates to do that. So I never had to leave, which has been great. So I came as a program manager of a group home in Marlborough, and then promoted to program director, division director. Eventually I became the chief operating officer, working right alongside Bill as we shaped the organization, fulfilled our mission, and continued to grow. And I did that for a number of years until in 2008 he called me to tell me that he had been diagnosed with cancer. And that really changed everything for us. So I became acting CEO, and I did that for a period of about 5 years while he was treated for cancer. I was acting CEO on and off when he was able to work and not able to work until he passed away in 2013. At that time, I was appointed CEO. I thought it worth mentioning, and this I'm thinking about what Stephanie had to say about willingness. I thought it worth mentioning that I had never aspired to be a CEO. I would have been really happy and grateful to work in partnership with Bill for the rest of my career. But at Advocates, and I think in your organizations, you do whatever it takes. You do the next right thing. Do whatever's needed to continue to do the work. And so I said yes. At the time I was nervous about this, I reached out to a new colleague, longtime CEO, but new colleague for me, to ask him, do you have to have a burning desire to be a CEO in order to be successful? And this was a great gift for me. He said, you don't have to have a burning desire, but you can't be reluctant. And so I think of what you said, Stephanie, about the willingness that's needed for leadership and to lead well. So I'm glad that I said yes, and it's really been the honor of my life to serve Advocates and to serve the Metrowests community. So I'm going to retire at the end of June, and I'm really grateful to have had all these years and to have been given so much. I'm also grateful that our board of directors has appointed our chief operating officer, Regina Marshall. Some of you know her. She will be our next president and CEO, and her energy and commitment and integrity gives me enormous confidence that we will be in good hands with her. So I wanted to share some lessons, and these really fall into the category of like for whatever they're worth. If they're useful to you, I hope you'll take them and use them. If not, simply put them aside. The first has to do with values. So I joined Advocates because Bill invited me. I stayed for 40 years because of our values. values that are as simple and foundational as kindness and respect, integrity, and listening. I encourage you to locate your values, to see that they're aligned with your teams and your organizations, and to use them as an anchor to guide your work. I also encourage you to find language for them, to write them down, and to work with your teams and your organizations to do that as well. At Advocates, we spent several years talking about and reflecting on our values, on what was most important, what are the things that we stand for. And we crafted a statement of philosophy that we call the Advocates Way. It's an evolving philosophy, but it guides our work every day. And it's been an anchor. I'll use that word again. It's been an anchor for me often. Find mentors and use them. I think you have mentors right here in the room. There are many people who are here to help you and who will be glad for you to turn to them. Reflect on the people who helped you get where you are today. Never forget where you came from and how you got here. And pay it forward. Think about people who might need you as a mentor, as an advisor, as somebody to encourage them, and particularly people who experience barriers to advancement. Women, people of color, people with disabilities, people who live at the intersection of varying identities, and reach out to them and be available, help them to grow and learn. Also drawing support from colleagues. When I became CEO, acting CEO, a colleague called me, colleague from another organization, and she said, there will be things that you cannot even talk to your own team about. That's why you have colleagues. And that's really true. There may be people inside your team or inside your organization, depending on what the issue is, that you can't actually talk with them about it. And that's why you have people like you have here across these many classes that you can reach out to and just talk to about tough decisions, about things that you're up against, things that you're worried about. Surround yourself with a diverse team of good people, people who share a common purpose, people you trust. It's really helpful when you have people who agree with you, but it's even better when you have people who will challenge you. When I first became CEO, somebody we've supported for many years came to see me with his mother. She was in her 80s at the time. And she said, a lot of people are going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to tell you good things about you. Don't let it go to your head. Find the people who disagree with you and listen to them. She said this from the wisdom of, more than 8 decades of living, and it was good advice. As leaders, there are so many competing priorities that can pull us away from our purpose and our mission. It's really helpful to have people on the team who will bring you back. As leaders, we can get pulled away. And we don't want to have to carry that alone, coming back and centering on mission. When there's so much to do. So we have people on our team, our chief medical officer, who regularly says, how is this conversation, like a meeting that is going on and on, how is this conversation supporting the people we serve? Our chief financial officer, who regularly says, how is this financial decision going to put more money in the pockets of the staff? So this is important, not to have to carry that alone. Stay close to the people who are impacted by your decisions. To the extent possible, make decisions with the input of those who will be affected by them. Stay connected to the people you serve, to your employees, to your communities, to the people who pay you. Whatever. I know you have many, you're in many sectors, so they might be funders or foundations or customers. Stay close to them. This is harder to do at higher levels of leadership in organizations that are growing. There can be distance between high-level leadership and the people who matter most. And when I say that, I mean people who are benefiting from the work that you do and the staff or employees who are doing that directly. So find ways of doing that. At Advocates, we have community conversations, we have program visits, we have listening circles designed to open dialogue. Hire people with strengths that you yourselves don't have, people who can fill those gaps. This can be challenging to do, and I'll share just quickly. One of the first hires I made, and most important ones, when I was very early in my career at Advocates, was for a program director for the crisis team. And I was in my 20s. I was new to leadership. We had a candidate who had more skills, more confidence, more experience than I had. I didn't hire her. I was intimidated by her. And I was not mature enough to recognize that in myself, to understand that vulnerability is an important aspect of leadership, and to use that and make a good decision. So that was regrettable. So knowing yourself and staying connected with what's going on internally is also really important. So that brings me to the inner work of leadership. We're living and working in incredibly challenging times. Economic uncertainty, technology shifts, changes in federal policy, strains in our budgets, fear in our communities. These are just a few of the challenges that leaders are facing today. I think I've been living and working in this community for many decades, and I think there's never been a more challenging time for leadership than we have today. So the stakes are high, and the emotional burden of leadership is heavy. There are decisions that will rest only with you. There shouldn't be that many. Most decisions are better made with the benefit of a lot of input. If there can be consensus, that's a good thing, or at the very least a thorough vetting of a decision and an outcome that people can either support or at least live with. But from time to time, there are decisions that only you can make. You need to know yourself well, understand your strengths and weaknesses, recognize what frightens you, what kinds of things you want to avoid. We have to recognize when we're confused or uncertain or afraid. This is some of the hardest work of leadership. It is brave. In the words of Brené Brown, who talks about vulnerability as an aspect of leadership, she talks about the brave work of doing leadership. It's not for the faint of heart. I think you know this from your work as leaders and probably from the academy as well. In order to lead well, we need to be well. Find what fills you up. Find what fills your cup. We can't give what we don't have. My colleagues at Advocates have heard me use this quote in the past. The Sufi poet Rumi says, "Don't give from the depths of your well, give from the overflow. Fill yourself up enough to have something left over to give." As leaders, we need quiet time and time to think. When Bill Taylor first became ill, I was sitting in my car outside what was then the Framingham Town Hall, now City Hall, waiting for a meeting, and he called me from his hospital room. And he said, "Are you getting enough time to think?" And it was a remarkable question and kind of an incredible experience that he took the time, really desperately ill, to reach out to me, to connect. Of course, he cared about the organization, but he also cared about me. And, you know, in leadership, of course people care about us, but it's different to have somebody really paying attention to how you are doing, and you have to have those people in your life. Well, he was one of them, and I was not getting enough time to think, and I felt like I barely had enough time to breathe in those days. They were so challenging. But the question brought me up short. It really stopped me, and it has stayed with me. And so I urge you to ask yourselves, are you getting enough time to think? No one will do that for you. Only you can create time and space for rest and reflection, thinking and planning. I know from Trish and from listening to Stephanie and Loretta this morning that you are a community of people who work hard. You are dedicated to the health of this community. You're dedicated to your own leadership development, and you have a commitment to making the world a better place. I commend you for that. When Trish and I were planning for this talk this morning, and she told me about you, a poem came to mind, and I wanted to share a couple of stanzas of that poem, which I thought might resonate. So I'll just read it to you. It's by Marge Piercy, and it's called To Be of Use. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. I love people who harness themselves an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I think that's you. And I want to thank you for everything you do, for doing what has to be done again and again. It's an honor to be in this community with you. Thank you.